One take safety video. We're going to do the laser today here with Paul. We're going to end up going through all of the safety and basic use. So much for one take. Oh. So much for one take. I forgot to use the camera, so there the audio just changed, and we'll do the edit later. But anyway,
this is Patrick and Dan.
Patrick and Dan. Yeah, yep. We're gonna make a safety video here for the laser, and Paul, you've used these lasers before,
yes,
right? So this is
not
gonna
these specific ones, but I have fired lasers.
Fired lasers.
Yeah.
And not just like laser pointers, right?
Ones that cut through material. You
know, oh, cool.
Like laser cutters.
And you didn't shine them in anybody's eyes, right?
I think it's really hard to do that. So.
Well, at least with these.
You have to like take the laser apart.
Probably. Okay, so
as
good.
Intended.
Okay, so this is going to be the safety checkout for this one. And so what's the number one rule of making sure that you don't burn down the building?
So have the fan on? Is that the number one?
No. Number one rule so that no one burns down the building.
Have fire extinguisher close by?
I mean, that's a good thing, but not the number one.
Don't go through this class.
You watch this video? No.
I don't. A hint? What's a hint?
Pat, do you know?
Nope.
No? Don't ever leave the laser unattended while it is firing. That's our number one rule.
That's easy.
That's the number one rule, right? So it means don't. Here, let's turn the video around. Oh, I don't know how to turn the video around on my my camera. Oh, you can't do it while you're. Yeah, I don't think you can do it while you're there. Anyway, so
I can hold it.
No, that's fine. We'll just do it around and around and around. So here's our laser. There's Victor over there. That's a desk. That's fine to work at the desk. Please don't go work over there. Don't go back to your desk. Don't do that. And definitely don't go over there to the bathrooms without pausing your laser. So that's our rule. Is that and you'll lose membership access or laser access if you are caught running the laser unattended. That's our number one rule. So okay, what about you have a flame up?
Yep.
You got a flame up. This is normal. Like lasers cause flames. That's kind of normal, right? What's the first thing you do? Your laser is shut. It's running. You see a flame because you are here and you attended. But what's the very first thing you do?
This guy.
What's that?
Hit it, and it will turn off the laser.
Sure.
The button wasn't shown there, but it's red.
Yeah. Is the button not there? There it is. Yep. There's the button. Okay. So the laser button, that's the e-stop. You don't necessarily need to stop the e-stop every time. A pause will work. But the idea is you stop the laser, right? And okay, so you pause, which would probably be better than hitting the e-stop just because then you can resume, right?
Sure.
Right. Next step, you pause, you still see a little bit of a flame.
Patrick,
try to blow it out.
Sure.
With the cover down?
Well, you can lift the cover.
There we go. There we go. Very first thing, after hitting pause, open the cover. Totally okay. That it's not a backdraft situation, like when air is not going to cause the thing to explode in flames, right? It'll just blow it out, which is the same thing as you going, right? That's the same deal. So that now, with a big laser like this, obviously a lot of air is going to be in there, and that's fine. The one thing on this laser particularly, this is our 100 watt. This is the 100 watt 4 foot by 3 foot laser, as you see right here. This one,
human size.
Yep.
5'8"
For scale.
Unfortunately, the safety switch is right here. If you see that, it's wires. There's nothing there. So this is our safety switch. It has been disabled.
Is for the lid?
That's for the lid.
Okay.
So it means
this one does work.
That one works just fine. the lid disable, meaning that if you lift this lid, the laser still fires.
Sure.
So, in other words, don't just think that because you lift the lid, the laser stops firing. Other lasers are like that. Our other one is, but this one's not. Okay? So, super important. That is okay, so we've opened the lid. Let's say we still have another flame. The flame is still going. The lid is up. What's the next step?
So if it's big and it looks like it's catching, you could smother it, or we have fire extinguisher there. That's also available.
Yep.
Other options would be this water container.
Yep.
There is a container of water right here. There we go. There is our water container. Yeah, there should be one by both lasers. Feel free to spray. If you could, just keep the spray away from the lens of the laser. Yeah. Obviously, it's a fire. We want you to do the right thing, put the fire out. But if the laser, if you can, and you're thinking about it at the time, try not to spray directly on the lens because that'll crack it and then we have to replace it, right? But I'd rather the fire be out than worried about the lens. But that's what the water is there for, right? If it doesn't go out with the water, then what do you do?
Reach for the
So
fire extinguisher, and this should be a pin that you pull.
Yep. There's your fire extinguisher.
And it's a halon.
Put it here.
Halon fire extinguisher.
So then with this, I'll pull this pin.
Yep.
And then take the tube out, place it, and then
spray it. You got it. And where do you point the tube?
So the end of the tube points towards the flame that you're trying to extinguish.
The base of the flame.
Okay.
Yep, the base of the flame. Always with the fire extinguisher is you base of the flame. Because if you spray it at the top of the flames, it doesn't put it out. And some people know that, some people don't. So just one little spot. Okay, so that's basically our safety panel. Is that you go through those steps.
Yep.
Those are the important ones on that. That's pretty much it for the safety of it. The next is our basic use of it, right? We're going to go over the how to focus it, and then how to be able to position it, and then the actually where you are putting like the different speeds and feeds of this guy right there. Do you have any questions about that so far?
So just to go over safety,
Yeah.
If there's a fire, step number 1 would be to stop the laser. You can pause it on the computer
or here
or on the screen.
Yep.
And if that doesn't work or you panic, you can always do the emergency stop.
Yep.
If flame continues, open the hood.
Yep.
You can also blow if that didn't put it out. If it continues, use water. And then last resort is the fire extinguisher.
You got it.
Cool.
That's the key. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so let's do focusing next. Okay, so now we're going to go over focusing. The laser focusing device is right here on this laser. It used to have a magnet and no longer. It keeps falling off, sorry. But that is the gauge. That stays right here. Please don't leave it anywhere else but right there on the laser. Okay, we're going to turn on the laser. Oh, our e-stop was touched. No wonder it didn't work. There we go. See, we just tested our e-stop. Yes. Okay. And then we're going to use this to focus on our material. Usually the laser likes to sit there and home very, very slowly, and it will start from that. Okay. Okay. Here's our screen. You can be able to make it move around right there using these buttons. This can go faster and slower. So this is fast, this is slow. how to position it. And so once we get that, Pat, do you want to be my cameraman here for a moment?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, there's one spot right on here. This is where you control the Z, up and down, and that is the bed. Okay, we're going to use this. Put it, whatever our material is, we put it under there, and you're going to change the focus for whatever material you do. And basically, I want to be on this level right there and that there. So I've got to bring that bed up. So I'm just like what you saw on the buttons. I'm going to bring this thing right up and then turn it to slow. And there we go. Now I'm feeling it on both surfaces. I feel it right up on this batch and I feel it down here. And now I know that my focus is there. And it really needs to be within about a 0.5 millimeter for all of that. Okay? That's our focus. Pretty simple on that part. What's our next step? What else do we need to know? Nothing. We come over here. Okay. So the basically on our screen here, we are looking at all of the like this is the main program. It's called Lightburn, which is right that one. So Lightburn is on on the computer right there. That's Lightburn. The password to this computer is written on it if you need to reboot it. But basically, it's a pretty simple software. You don't want to do any design work on this thing. You're going to do your design work in a vector-based software, and as you know, this safety video is not going to teach you how to build files for the laser. It's just how to get the laser to run the files that you do know. This particular software ends up doing, it's fine, it will do AI, it'll do SVGs, it'll do DXFs, and some of them are cool, like if you design and output your DXFs, it actually saves all your color stuff. So if you want to do different color profiles, you can do that. Other than that, let's do a really basic setup for a square and a circle with a cut and an engrave. Okay, so let's say we're going to make a very small square, and then we're going to go in, we're going to make a nice circle, and I'm going to make the circle green right there. So now you've seen I've got a square and a circle, and I can choose which of these vectors are line, meaning vector and cutting, and also fill, which is engraving and also known as raster, right? So you've got your fill. So we're going to do the fill and line, and then basically we just need to choose the speed and the power, right? You know from obviously laser is that the speed and power are these two levers that you're playing to cut through anything. If you were a piece of cardboard and a candle, right, we would be cutting through very, very slowly because the candle is low power, and so the speed has to be low. If I have a cardboard and a blowtorch, I would be going much faster because the power is higher, so the speed can be higher, right? So you're always balancing those two things. Let's say we're cutting with 1/8 inch acrylic here on this laser, which is the 100 watt 4 foot by 3 foot laser. I was able to cut 14 millimeters per second. So speed is in millimeters per second, not percentage like our other laser. And then max power, I want as much power as I can to cut through pretty much everything when I'm cutting. You know, so when I'm cutting, my power is at max. When I'm engraving, usually my speed is at max, right? So those look like good starting spots. Again, always test this. Test your material, do it.
You should always have the air toggled on too.
Yep.
Right?
So we want to make sure air is toggled on. Output, if you want to make a template, for example, you can just you can put a template one in there and then turn the output off, right? And then you know where to place everything. Or you could make a template where it's a bunch of squares where you'll put something into laser. You cut the template out of a piece of cardboard, and then you can turn it off, and then you place all your components and you cut them in there. So there's lots of it, but the output is here. The air you always want on. Again, for engraving, this one is 400 millimeters per second, right? So that's about the top speed of this laser, about 400 millimeters a second. Max power, obviously for engraving, I don't need a lot, but maybe I'll choose 35%. The min power is actually it's just for in the corners, and it's more for vector. Like if, with CNC, if you go in a corner, it stops for a moment when it changes directions from X to Y. In the line mode, you can actually lower the minimum power a little bit. So maybe like instead of 100, you do 96, and it'll just give you a little cleaner corners.
Sure.
So, that's pretty much set. That looks good. I'm gonna click OK. There's my two main paths that I'm going to do, and then from there we are going to
like a test or a frame, right?
Yep, we're going to do a frame. The main thing we're going to do those is because I put the laser right where I needed it to be. I'm going to click origin on the laser head, and now it will be exactly where it is. If you want other different, like if you want absolute positioning, you can actually you can do absolute positioning.
Origin set the origin to the current state of the laser.
Yep. And so I'm going to send this file over to the laser. That's the main thing. You need to make any changes, you need to go send it over to the laser. And then now I can click on frame. This frame is basically the bounding box frame, and the other frame is, I believe, more the contour of where it actually would be, right? Ours is a square, so it'll always look like a square. But if you had a circle, it will actually go around in a circle, right? So and then also this little dot right here is from where my dot is starting. So for example, with where I'm at, where the laser dot is on my part, which we'll show you in a minute, is actually right there in the upper left corner of where. So if I click my frame, it actually makes a nice little square around, and you can see it work. It fits on where my part is. So let's go ahead and try that again. Let's open that up. Go ahead and open this thing up. You can hit, this is the origin button I talked about. There's the box. And then this is actually what it does. Is it moves.
Same as frame.
Box is the same as frame on the software, so you could do either one, and that'll tell you where the part is. And then now that you've got all of your settings and you're focused and you're all set, we're gonna, let's see if I can get into the right video of this sucker from there. Then you can just hit start. And it lasers, it cuts, it engraves.
What kind of material can you use?
You can only use acrylic or wood, or you need to talk to us to get it safe, to get it actually approved. Now, the last thing with this is that I want to make sure that I wait about 30 seconds to a minute before you open this. If you're doing a lot of cutting, you'll end up like the smoke starts coming out and it fills the room. This was pretty small, so but this is a big laser. It will take a little bit of time to clear. So make sure you're there. And there's our part. This is my little finger test to just see if it moved. I don't think it actually cut through that piece. Oh, my focus is a little off comparatively. I don't know why from when I moved it before. However, that one probably didn't cut all the way through. So let's try it again. This time, again, I'm going to just change my fill line to 12. I'm sorry, my speed to 12. And now I'm going to send again. Click OK. And then frame. Looks good. I'll try again. My focus was a little off, but it wasn't massively off. I'd say it was like 3/4 of a millimeter off, which is enough that I would have problems, but if I make this a little faster, a little bit better. Again, I'm waiting for it to clear, and there we go. There is our part, and it actually came out. Yep, and so you can see it cut and engraved right there.
So if we flip over on the other side of this one, it probably won't show that it went all the way through. Like a little bit.
I was pretty dang close. I bet
Might
you could
even be the paper. Hey, look at that.
pop through, so I was fine. So 14 was okay, but it was right at the edge of where that is. And because my focus was a little off, why I thought 14 was going to be okay, it wasn't. Or like, so if I had my focus a little bit better, 14 would have been fine. So okay, and that's the basics of using this laser. As for cleanup of this guy right here, basically you're going to want to make sure that you clean out your materials. If you have little things stuck in there, like little things like that, pull it out. Even this stuff, right? It's really important that you clear that out, because if you don't clean these up, somebody puts their other piece of material on here and it doesn't lay flat, and that's going to be a problem. So you really want to make sure that you clean all your little bits up and out of the laser bed, and that's where you grab the vacuum and make sure that you actually vacuum the bed of the laser.
Where do I come?
There's usually a vacuum under the table, pretty close, or in the lab somewhere, and be able to vacuum. So this is our ULS 75 watt laser. This guy is going to be pretty much very similar in use. All the same safety stuff it applies, but we're going to take where to turn it on first. There is a foot pedal that turns on the fan and the compressor right there. So if you press forward on the pedal all the way up, that's where it turns on. And if you want to turn it off, it's the back of the pedal. Yep. So basically we're just going to turn it on and then turn it off however you want. I think it worked just fine. I think the fan's still on. It just needed a little air compressed in there. I think it's fine. I think it. We'll find out. Who knows? Pat, what do you think? It's broken? Not broken?
I think it might be broken.
Okay, we'll take bets on this thing. Is where we're going. So the other part of to turn it on is
have to go.
there is a switch right down here, up, right there. That will turn on the laser. Screen come on. Your computer is right here, and that we're going to be using Illustrator on this computer to run the driver on there.
This computer stays here.
That computer stays there. Yep. So basically we are going to, it usually takes a second, and if you don't start the computer with Illustrator, it may not pass through this basic section right here.
Step 1, computer. Step 2, boot the machine. Or
Sure.
computer with Illustrator and then boot the machine. Is that
You can do any order, but the machine won't actually get all the way to the point where it is right now without the Illustrator being on. So you can do it in any order, but you just need to make sure that you turn on the machine, you turn on the fan of the compressor, and that you also turn on the computer.
You'll know because
Yep.
it doesn't work.
Yep, you'll know if it doesn't work.
Yep.
Okay, first thing we're gonna do is just focus it, right? So go ahead and lift up the lid. And the easiest way, Pat, you wanna go grab me that little piece of thing we were cutting? But the easiest way to start is this button right here. And that moves it over to the corner, right? And then if you don't do it that way, you can get out of it here. You can move it to X and Y, and you hit yes, and then you can actually move the machine this way and that way. Yep. And then you can choose the speed that it's moving by hitting this little check mark to slower. It just does, and that's faster. So that will move a little farther. And it starts slow and then speeds up even more so. And that's basically how to move the head of the laser using the machine this way. You want to put that sucker up in the corner. Now this machine is absolute coordinates, unlike the other one where you needed to set the origin. This one, it's basically you're going to set it up in the corner based on where it is on the bed. So here we've got our part, and now
Where's 0, 0 for absolute?
0, 0 is up in the upper left corner. Yep. This little guy is your focus tool, and that lives right there. You can see right in our, lives right here. And that is going to go right onto our part. So this is what we're looking for, is to be able to,
On that knot.
on that little notch, see that little spot? That should be along the edge of the laser head, right along there. So, and now it looks like this has already been, like, whoever was cutting with this was already focused basically. And so I know I can't move it up and down like that. And so I know it's nice and focused, right? It'll move back and forth obviously along the notch, but up and down, I can't feel any movement, right? If there was focus, then of course I would come over here and it's already in the Z height when I hit that button. And then I could press it down, right? If I wanted to go a little slower, I can use like that. And then again, now I can see it moves, it's not focused anymore, right? Yeah. So now the focus is done. We're gonna exit. It'll go back. And then you can go ahead and close the lid. Now this lid, of course, does have a safety thing, so if you want to take an air pass on this laser, let's see, forgot to hit my record. Yeah, so this one does have an air, like you can do an air pass with this one just by opening the lid and running a program, because the safety on this lid is enabled. So
Air pass meaning
you want to, for example, you want to just have the laser go through the paces without it actually cutting.
Okay, yeah.
You can lift the lid.
Okay.
That will work on this one. Okay. With this one, we're now in Illustrator. That's kind of where. Have you used Illustrator before?
use Adobe.
Adobe Illustrator.
Yes.
Yeah. You can use any vector software as anything else, but we have Illustrator connected to this one. Basically, what we're going to do is open up a 32 by 18, which is the size of the bed, file. The most important thing is that it's in RGB color. Is really key on this one. Don't do CMYK. So we're going to create that. And of course, then it's easier to open up your file in here and they'd be able to just drag and drop it in. And that's where it's easier to position rather than trying to cut with it on a different size of things like that. So Control R does rulers if you really want, and then be able to set that. So again, we're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to make a little square that is going to be cut. And what we're going to do is just go over to that and turn it red. So what I'm doing here is, of course, is the stroke of that square is red. I've chosen it here. This is the fill, which is my screen capture is getting in the way. That's the fill, obviously, and the fill is for engraving, and the stroke is for cutting. I also want to make sure that my stroke is 0.001 inches or hairline to be able to cut there. And the most important though is that this red or whatever RGB color you use is RGB true colors, meaning R is 255, the other ones are 00. If this is even 1, it won't do it, right? Because it needs to know what color that is. So I'm gonna cut with that with red, and it's arbitrary. You can choose whatever color you want. And then I'm gonna do a quick circle in here for my engrave. But for this one, I'm gonna do no stroke and all fill. But my fill is going to be black for engrave, okay? And now gradients of black to white, of course, it will get less and less engraved. So you can actually change and do a grayscale image will obviously look that, but that's that. So we have our part, our square, our circle, and then we are basically ready to send it to the laser, right? To do that, I'm gonna hit Control P to print. That brings up this page right here. There. I don't wanna play with this yet. I'm gonna keep going so I'm gonna go to Print, Setup, and then Preferences. And this is where all of our controls are for our laser. You can go into the materials database and play around with stuff there. I just find that it's not that accurate ever. So I usually do everything manually and do test cuts. So, not even recording on that spot, but that's fine. We've got black was gonna be our raster mode, right?
Yep.
So that's gonna be our engrave. Our red is our vector. And so somebody put this in already this way. Right? That's fine. If for some reason if you play around with too many of these settings and it stops printing, the easiest way to do this is just click defaults and it'll set everything back to the way it should be. So now I can, for example, my red was cut. I'm gonna set my mode to vector for cutting. My flow and air needs to be 100%, just like it says on the computer here. Make sure that that's there. And then power is in percentage and speed is in percentage. So if I'm cutting, I'm probably going to need to bring this down to about, for something small, about 3.5–4% is probably for 1/8 inch acrylic is probably where I'm going to go for speed. For power, of course, I'm going to bring it all the way up to 100. And then PPI, I always just do it at full for vector. Even for engraving, I still do, unless I'm trying to speed it up. And then
That's pixels per inch.
yeah, pixels per inch. So it's basically the resolution. And then I usually never play with much of any of that stuff. The most important thing though is after you change all your settings, you click apply or set, right? And then now it'll say it. Same thing we're gonna do with the black. We're gonna do, this is gonna be our engrave. Probably gonna do 35% power, full speed, full engraving, and make sure my air is on both sides. So then I click apply or set. Did I have it? Oh. This should actually fix it, like the raster and vector should know. So let's experiment with that and do that. Because it's engrave only, it shouldn't have a there. So And then once you're there, you can click print, but this is the important screen to get back to. Okay? Once you're in this screen, you're going to go to the media size user-defined landscape. And then you might need, it might be on this one. If you see the little lines of anything, that's usually a bad sign. So you're looking for, basically, you can see your cut and you can see that everything is there and there's no lines intersecting. Beyond that, you can then click print. And now we're gonna go to the laser and start this up. We've got our file, which is untitled 1, which is there, and it should be all set. If I want to see where my, if I just want to see, did I get this right, you can hit the play button while with the lid open, and you can see it's doing the engrave first. That looks really big. I probably don't want it that big, right? Like, that's a lot. So if I want to, I can pause right there. And then on one note too, is if you actually are cutting this out, if I want to continue, you really want to make sure that you hit pause again to continue. Don't hit play or it will start it over again.
Okay. Yep.
That's a huge tip.
Start from 0.
Super important. Yeah, because this will start from the very beginning, and the pause and unpause, you need to make sure it's the same button. Okay, so
This is a little bit strange that this looks so big. Maybe we're just...
it is a little strange. It's only supposed to be, this is only like 1 inch wide. That looked big, but I don't know. I'm gonna, actually, let's just cut it because I don't really care about this material or the size. And we're gonna just hit play. Yeah, see, it's actually not,
Okay.
it's just moving a lot with the other one. So let's get out of the, it's moving, but it's actually not engraving that whole spot. And I probably should have done it on a spot where I didn't have other things, but this is just my test cut. And as it finishes its circle of engraving, oops, oh, okay. There we go, now it's cutting. And we're good. Again, I should wait a little bit before opening it, especially if you're doing large files, but there's my part. And then I actually didn't, 4% was actually not quite the right spot. I almost got it. Didn't quite cut through. So 3% is actually where I think is probably a better spot to start. But you can see I cut my, there's the cut, there's there. Let's do it one more time. But this time, let's make adjustment. Let's go ahead and simply, again, Control P, and then Setup, Preferences, and then this time, I'm gonna go 3% set, okay, print, and then again, defined by user-defined landscape, and print. Now we go again. Now it should, you can say 2 of 2. There's, even though it's the same name, file name, and print. And let's go see if that cuts through.
The 2 of 2 and then 2 layers?
2 files of 2. This is the second file of 2 files that have been uploaded.
Okay.
Yep. So if the machine is on for a long period of time and you have lots of files on here, that number might be like a lot. But, and if you change the name, it'll be like 3 of 3, but a different name. Looks like it's engraving a nice spot, cutting through the paper. And there's our cut around. You can say 3% is still fairly quick. Give it a 10-second wait. 10, 9, I'm impatient, please don't be. And then we've got, again, this one, it seems like it cut in one direction, but not quite the other one. So close, probably need to go down to 2.5% on that.